Your medieval counterpart fasted yesterday, not because they chose to, because the calendar told them to. Wednesday, fast. Friday, fast. Every eve of every major feast day, fast. 40 days of Lent, restricted. In observant medieval Catholic households, fasting was prescribed on approximately 150 days per year. 150. Not a wellness program, not an app subscription, not a $60 book about metabolic optimization. A calendar, a religious calendar that imposed on an entire civilization involuntarily the exact metabolic cycling that the modern wellness industry has spent decades packaging as a premium health discovery and charging you to relearn. The intermittent fasting market is currently valued at billions of dollars globally. Billions, built on a practice that medieval peasants performed for free on approximately 1/3 of every year of their lives, without knowing what insulin sensitivity was, without knowing what cellular autophagy was, without knowing that the fasting calendar their church imposed on them was producing metabolic benefits that modern research has since documented in the New England Journal of Medicine. They did not know the science, they were living it. And the post-war food industry that eliminated food scarcity from Western daily life, presenting continuous food availability as the culmination of human agricultural achievement, also eliminated without announcement or discussion the involuntary metabolic cycling that medieval bodies had been performing for centuries. The wellness industry found the gap that elimination created and built a multi-billion-dollar industry selling back to you at $50 a program the metabolic practice your medieval counterpart performed for free, approximately 150 times a year. Subscribe to this channel right now before we go further. What you are about to watch has a paper trail, named researchers, published studies, documented market valuations, and when someone tells you this is exaggeration, you will be able to tell them exactly which journal published the metabolic research and exactly which decade the food industry eliminated the practice it describes. Here is the specific metabolic science that medieval fasting was producing without knowing it. When the body enters a fasted state, insulin levels drop, not gradually, significantly. Insulin is the hormone that signals the body to store energy as fat. When insulin drops, the body shifts from storage mode to utilization mode. It begins burning stored fat for energy. It begins accessing metabolic pathways that the continuously fed state suppresses. After approximately 16 hours of fasting, the body activates a process called autophagy. Autophagy is cellular housekeeping. The body identifies damaged proteins, dysfunctional cellular components, and cellular debris accumulated during normal metabolic activity. It breaks them down. It recycles their components. It regenerates cleaner, more functional cellular structures in their place. Autophagy is not a marginal process. It is one of the most fundamental regenerative mechanisms the human body possesses. Its discovery earned Japanese cell biologist Yoshinori Ohsumi the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2016. A Nobel Prize for documenting a process that medieval populations were activating involuntarily through their religious fasting calendar centuries before the word autophagy existed. A 2019 review published in the New England Journal of Medicine by Dr. Mark Mattson and colleagues documented the full metabolic profile of intermittent fasting, improved insulin sensitivity, reduced inflammatory markers, activated autophagy, improved cardiovascular risk factors, potential neurological benefits, including reduced risk of neurodegenerative conditions. Every benefit in that review was being generated in medieval bodies by a calendar that had no knowledge of any of it. Research by Dr. Walter Longo at the University of Southern California further documented that periodic fasting activates stem cell-based cellular regeneration in ways that continuous feeding suppresses. The depth and duration of autophagy activation achieved through dedicated fasting periods significantly exceeds the baseline cellular maintenance occurring during normal sleep. The medieval body was running its deepest repair cycle on approximately 150 days per year. Your body, in the continuous fed state the modern food industry normalized, may rarely activate it at all. This is the moment in this video where this channel asks you to subscribe to this channel, because what you are watching is the pattern this channel exists to document one eliminated practice at a time. A metabolic cycle the human body depended on for centuries, eliminated by a food industry that presented its elimination as progress, and then repackaged by a wellness industry that charged you to recover it. Subscribe to this channel now so you are present when the next one is uncovered. Here is how the practice was eliminated, and who built their revenue on its elimination. The post-war food industry's defining commercial achievement was the conquest of food scarcity, continuous food availability. 3 meals a day plus snacks as the baseline standard of modern Western life. The refrigerator stocked at all times. The supermarket open 7 days a week. The snack industry filling every gap between meals with a product calibrated to keep the body in a continuous fed state from waking to sleeping. That achievement was presented as progress, as the defeat of hunger, as the reward of industrial civilization delivered to every household. What it was not presented as was the elimination of the involuntary metabolic cycling that had been one of the human body's primary health maintenance mechanisms for centuries. The food industry eliminated scarcity without understanding or accounting for the metabolic consequences of eliminating the involuntary cycling that scarcity had imposed. But the wellness industry that arrived later had no such excuse. Medieval fasting was not designed as health optimization. It was religious obligation and seasonal scarcity simultaneously. But its metabolic consequences were real, regardless of their cause. The metabolic cycling medieval populations performed mirrors the protocols modern research has documented as producing improved insulin sensitivity, activated autophagy, and reduced chronic inflammation. The food industry eliminated those consequences along with the scarcity that produced them. Then the wellness industry arrived. In the 1990s, researchers began documenting the metabolic benefits of caloric restriction and fasting windows. By the 2000s, intermittent fasting had become a documented clinical protocol. By the 2010s, it had become a wellness industry product. Apps, books, programs, coaching services, supplement lines specifically formulated to support fasting windows. The intermittent fasting market reached approximately $6.5 billion in 2021, according to market research projections. $6.5 billion for a practice that required no product, no program, and no industry to deliver when a religious calendar was imposing it on an entire civilization for free. The food industry eliminated the practice by eliminating scarcity. The wellness industry monetized the elimination by selling the practice back. Both industries grew. The population paid at both ends. First, through the chronic metabolic consequences of the continuous fed state, then through the subscription fee to relearn the fasting practice that the continuous fed state replaced. Here is what the continuous fed state costs your body right now. Not in a medieval monastery. In your metabolism. Today. This blood sugar reading. This energy crash after lunch. This difficulty losing weight despite eating less than you think you should. The continuously fed body maintains chronically elevated baseline insulin levels. Chronically elevated insulin suppresses fat utilization. It suppresses the depth of the autophagy activation the body is capable of reaching. It maintains the low-grade inflammatory state that modern research associates with metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. Among the significant dietary and lifestyle changes that correlate with the rise of these conditions, the elimination of involuntary metabolic cycling is documented in research as one of the least discussed. The medieval peasant who fasted on Wednesday because the church required it was not practicing wellness. They were maintaining involuntarily the metabolic cycling their body required to regulate insulin, activate cellular repair, and manage inflammation. Your body requires the same cycling. It is not receiving it. And the industry that eliminated it is not in the business of telling you what was lost when food scarcity became commercially obsolete. Here is the honest question this video ends with. Not the prepared answer, the real one. When did you last go 16 hours without eating? Not intentionally, not as a wellness practice, just naturally. Because you were not hungry, because the food was not there, because the circumstance imposed a gap that your metabolism was designed to use. How long ago was that? Drop that honest answer in the comments right now. Not the answer that makes you sound disciplined, the real one. Because the gap between the involuntary metabolic cycling medieval populations performed approximately 150 times a year and the continuous fed state your daily food environment imposes on you is the gap your metabolism is paying for. And the wellness industry, charging you $50 to close that gap, is counting on you never asking who opened it. The medieval fasting story is not isolated. Eliminate the involuntary practice, present its elimination as progress, wait for the metabolic consequences to accumulate into a market, then sell the eliminated practice back as a premium discovery at a price that grows with every year the continuous fed state continues producing the conditions that make the practice feel necessary. That is not a wellness industry. That is a recovery industry built on a wound the food industry opened, and it is charging you to partially close something that your medieval counterpart never had to pay to maintain. Subscribe to this channel now and turn on your notification bell before you move on, because this channel is not finished. There are metabolic practices your body was designed to perform, biological cycles the modern food environment permanently suppresses, and health mechanisms the wellness industry is currently selling back to you at a price that medieval peasants never had to pay because nobody had yet found a way to profit from their absence. This channel documents them one at a time, with evidence, with the commercial paper trail, with the specific decisions those industries are counting on you never connecting. The people who subscribe to this channel right now will be there for every one. Do not leave without subscribing to this channel. This is the channel they are counting on you never finding. Medieval people activated their body's deepest repair cycle approximately 150 times a year without a single subscription. The industry that eliminated that cycle presented its elimination as the defeat of hunger. It was also the defeat of something else, something your metabolism is still looking for. Now you know what was buried. The question is what you do with that knowledge. Subscribe and stay tuned for more stories coming your way. See you in our next video.